Hi folks, welcome to another episode of My Life with Robert Burns. Douglas Mackenzie and Wally Dick here tonight to talk to another of our cronies from around the Burns world. You thought Jim Thompson was coming, but unfortunately Jim had to call off earlier this afternoon, and Wally Dick has stepped into the interviewer seat alongside me. For those of you who don't know Wally, you can go to the podcast that we did several months ago and number 23, and you'll find out all about Wally. But suffice to say that he's former president and newcomer at Burns Club, and he's a nominee for the junior vice president post at the Association of Burns Clubs. Welcome, Willie. How are you doing?
Hi, Douglas. It's great to be here, and great to be here and stand in for the legend that is Jim Thompson. So, but don't tell him I said that. Let him find that out for himself. And
Very good.
fair looking forward to interviewing the other legend that's just coming up.
Okay, we won't mention his name yet. Tonight, folks, we want you to welcome a guy who is the ex-president of the Dundonald Burns Club and is currently a volunteer at the Birthplace Museum. Cronies everywhere, please welcome Roger Livingstone. How you doing, Roger?
Hi, Douglas. I'm doing absolutely great. It's great to be with you. And hi, Wally. How are you?
Hi, Roger. Nice to see you.
Good.
Good. Well, Roger, we always start with the same question every time, and that is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah. Well, as I say, you've got my name. You've given a couple of details where I was there. I was actually born and brought up in Irvine. I was there, born in 1949, and I lived there till we get married, and I moved out to Irvine in 1970, I think it was, and I moved to Troon, and I've been in Troon ever since. But as I say, I was born and bred in Irvine, but Irvine at that time was much, much smaller, and it was like the bottom half of the town was Fullerton, and then you had the newer part of the town, and I stayed in the bottom half of the old part of the town up until I was about 4, down in the bottom half of the town, and then they built new houses up in Livingstone Terrace, would you believe? And we moved into Livingstone Terrace, and one of the sort of unusual things about it is it's a big long street, and every so far along the street you had the name Livingstone Terrace above the houses. It happened to be right above our door.
Very good.
So as you come down the main street towards Livingstone Terrace, that was the entrance to our house, and Livingstone was right above the door. As I say, I was there till I was 21.
So you didn't need to be an explorer to discover Livingstone Terrace?
No, I certainly didn't. I think you would have to be now with the size of Irvine, but no, I certainly wasn't. And we did explore a wee bit into the name, but I'll maybe come back to that a wee bit later. And I went to Loudon Street School, which was in the bottom half of the town. Moved on to John Galt School when we moved up to the other side, and then to Irvine Academy, Irvine Royal Academy as they called it, and I was there till I was 15. At that time, they were just introducing O levels, but I had actually applied to and sat an entrance exam to Kilmarnock Technical College to do a pre-apprenticeship course. So I was successful in getting into Kilmarnock College, so I started in the pre-apprenticeship course, and that was me for a year. And on the course, we actually did do O levels. It was the first year they introduced them, so I did do the O levels at Kilmarnock Tech, including English, which was unusual at a technical college. But we did the 5 O levels, and in completion of the course, you're then looking for a job. you know, an apprenticeship is what you're looking for. So there was a few places that I'd been applied for, and was successful in getting a position with Shell. Shell UK, which had a refinery. They had a refinery in Ardrossan.
All right.
And I started there as an apprentice maintenance electrician in, well, that was 1965, 66. So I was there to complete my apprenticeship. And on completion of the apprenticeship, they offered me a job in Manchester.
Right.
Because they were fully manned personnel at Ardrossan. So they offered me the job in Manchester, and I actually took the job in Manchester. And I was to move down in six to 8 weeks. But in the interim period, I took cold feet, and I wasn't going to go to Manchester. That was right. Plus the fact I was due, I was engaged, and I thought, well, you're 21, are you going to move down, move the whole lot? So I took cold feet, and I didn't move to Manchester. There was a huge refinery down at Manchester at Carrington.
Mhm.
And I had another wee job for a local contracting company for maybe 3 or 4 months before joining British Steel. And I joined British Steel as a maintenance electrician. I was there for quite a while. Moved to
Was that at Ravens Craig?
No, that was up at Glengarnock.
All right. Okay.
That was the Glengarnock one. They had the rolling mill up at Glengarnock, and they did quite a lot of stuff. It was quite a big plant, you know. It's a great place to work. I thoroughly enjoyed working at it, you know. It was absolutely,
Yeah.
and a lot of experience was gained there. But like everything else, you sort of look around, bigger money, you know, better jobs. So I moved to SKF. I don't know if you knew SKF or Skefco at that
Oh
time.
yeah.
It was a big
Yeah.
ball bearing manufacturer.
Yeah.
So I moved from British Steel to SKF, and that was great. Everything looked fine, we looked settled, but then they decided to shut the plant.
Yeah. I did. Yeah.
So they decided to shut the plant, and I think that was 1979.
Yeah.
79 they decided to shut the plant. So I moved from there to Monsanto because
Yeah.
I was getting made redundant. And Monsanto, 6 months later, decided they were shutting the plant as well, you know. So made redundant again, you know. So at that point in time, I thought, well, what do I do? So I started my own electrical engineering contracting business,
Right.
and I was there till I retired. So I did that for the next 37 years.
Oh,
And
very good.
that took me all up to, that was my employment. I think I was very fortunate health-wise, only missed 2 weeks, and
Uh-huh.
the time I started working to the time I finished working, you know.
And did you work entirely on your own, or did you employ some folk?
No, I took a partner in the business after about 3 or 4 years,
Uh-huh.
and then we started to employ people. With quite a few, with 10 or 12 sparks on our board, but it's mainly industrial stuff.
Uh-huh.
Caledonian Paper, Glenville and Kennedy, you know, factories, mainly
Yeah.
factories, very, very little domestic stuff, you know, it was mainly industrial stuff. So we did have a few people. After, I would think, about 4 or 5 years, we had 10 people, you know.
Oh, wow, very good.
And that kind of kept going, but we'd Motorola on board as customers, and as I say, Caledonian Paper, a wee bit in at Beecham's. So we're doing that type of work, you know.
Did you ever come across a Jim McFeeters at Beecham's?
Yes, I worked with Jim in Monsanto.
All right.
I knew Jim from Monsanto because he worked in there while I was in there, and then Jim he went to Beecham's, but we were in as subcontractors at Beecham's. Yeah, I knew Jim. I still see him occasionally, you know.
Aye. Aye, Jim was up at the debate on Sunday.
That's where I've seen him. If I go to the debate, the sun, you know, you come. I've met Jim up there a couple of times,
Yeah.
and I've also met him. He was a member of the fishing club because I'm a member at Killennan Reservoir, which is just up the back door for me.
Aye.
And Jim's was a member of the fishing club up there, so I used to see him regular. I knew Jim fine.
Aye.
So
Aye, very good. So,
So that was my working career, you know, and that was it, you know. And
so
that,
did you get any time for leisure and among all of that?
Well, I did the fishing, you know. I started golf. I was playing golf. I'm mid-20s, you know. So I played quite a lot of golf, and I joined the Troon Portland Golf Club, you know. But you know, I had a wee bit of time for the fishing, a wee bit of time for the golf. But then, as my family was growing up, I had 2 girls and a boy, so we had 3 siblings. So they progressed. The son, he moved into the business. He'd come on to the business, but he stayed till he was about 26, 27, and then he changed careers. He joined the fire service. And the 2 girls, they both went through university, and they've both got good jobs. And I've now got, as I mentioned a wee bit earlier, I've now got 9 grandchildren. They all have 3. They all have 3 each, and they range from 22 down to 6. You know, so they keep us quite busy. You know.
Oh, I would imagine they do.
There's still plenty of time for. I enjoy my fishing more so than the golf, you know.
What kind of fishing do you do? I mean, Jim McFeeter, I think he's a keen fly fisherman.
Yeah, it's mainly all fly fishing, you know. I'll do some of the spinning for salmon, but if I'm trout fishing, it's usually fly only. I tie all my own flies as well, you know. So, and I've done that from sort of 9 or 10, you know, right, and I still do it. And my grandson does it, my son does it, you know. So just keeping it in the family, and they just thoroughly enjoy it, you know.
And did you mention sea fishing? Being at Troon, do you not get a chance to go out in the sea?
Occasionally, out in the boat occasionally, you know. But as I say, that didn't interest me. I prefer to walk to the hill lochs, you know, walk up the rivers. Sea fishing was more or less out in a boat, and getting seasick and then back in, you know. That was my experience of sea fishing, you know. It was never and I wasn't that fussy in eating the cod that we're catching, you know. But I'll certainly keep the trout and salmon in the freezer, you know. But and as I say, the 9 grandkids are various ages. 3 of them. One's at Oxford University.
Oh, well done.
One's at Glasgow and one's at Edinburgh. You know? So they keep us busy. And there's one of the boys, he's quite interested in burns. I mean, he's been on. I remember during the COVID, he come on when we were doing the Zoom meetings during COVID for the Bachelors Club.
Aye. Oh, I remember seeing him. Aye.
Young Archie come on, and he did the address to the haggis. So he's now doing burn suppers, you know.
Very good. That's excellent.
So he's this year.
He was a bit of a star when it came to that. I remember you giving him the chance. That was smashing.
Aye,
very good. I pass on my regards to him. That he did very well. You've led us into burns, and usually one of the first questions we ask is whether you did burns at school. But I'm going to pass you over to Willie, and he can ask whatever question he wants. No constraints.
Hi, Roger.
Hi, Willie.
Really great to see you here. Thank you very much for doing this. So the first question's always the same. How did you get started with burns?
I didn't really get started burns till very late, you know. we did a wee bit at school with usually your poetry competitions, but if I can remember rightly, they did the school run one, your primary school, but it wasn't Burns, it was the Sair Finger. You know, that was the normal one that you did as you were all learning that. So that was my first poetry that and then I was never near it until but I said my father-in-law was in the same golf club. You know, he was in the same golf club, and he took me along to a Burns supper. At that time, Troon had a Burns club. They had Troon had a Burns club. I think Jimmy Adams was the guy who was the president. You know, and I remember going to that, and there was I think that's the first time I saw two guys that did stuff, and I was really, really impressed with them. But I would be in my late 20s. But then I was looking back, it was Andrew Boyle was one of the speakers, and guy Strawhorn, John Strawhorn.
Yeah.
They were speaking.
Dr. Strawhorn was the history teacher at Cumnock Academy. He taught me history.
Aye, well, that was one of that was the first Burns supper I'd ever been to, and these guys, but I don't remember. I remember them doing it, and I remember Jimmy Adams. But as I say, the next year after that, I was started up working for myself, and I was never into any Burns. Occasional Burns suppers. I think I went to a couple along with the paper mill. I think Ian Farrell was running a lot of them. So we went to a couple of Burns suppers, but I never really joined any Burns clubs or got interested into it until I think it was 2000, 2003 or 2004 when I was captain of the golf club, our own golf club, and we started Burns suppers. So that was great. We thought we'd try a Burns supper, get it started. The two guys that were organising it, 6 weeks before it, I said, "Who's all your speakers?" "Oh, we'll get somebody. We'll get some for the Rotary. We'll get somebody for this." I said, "You don't have anybody." So we'd no speakers 6 weeks before. So a good friend of mine, he went to school with me at Irvine Academy, at Irvine Royal. It was Gordon Hennessy,
Right.
and I'd said to Gordon, I met him in a Chinese restaurant, and I said, "Look, I've got a Burns supper coming up," and I knew Gordon did recitations, so he was very helpful. Gave us a few names, phoned round about, and we got it off. We got it off the ground, and Gordon, he came every year doing the recitations, but we had some great speakers. And after 2 years, I think Ian Farrell took over as chairman. So with Ian taking on the chair, we then had some tremendous, we had good contacts, and the Portland Burns supper went from strength to strength. People like Ian Curry, John Shirkey, Wally Dick, was along, Bobby McCallum, Jim Morrison, Jimmy Law. I mean, these are people that are well known. Bobby Jess. I'm name dropping a wee bit, but they were all great guys to come along, and they just made the supper go so well, And because it was the golf club, I did a wee bit every year. So then Gordon Hennessy says, "Look, you have to do something." So I started off doing, I think my first poem I did was to a moose, in my own golf club, nowhere else. Then the next, I think it was the address to the haggis. And we sort of progressed a wee bit for there, and then I said, "I'll have to do Tam O'Shanter," and I wanted to do Tam O'Shanter. So eventually I learned it, and I did it in my own golf club. And that was the first time, and that was nerve-wracking, I can assure you, in front of your golf mates. And that was my introduction into doing it at any Burns supper. So I never did anything outside the golf club. I think we attempted one year, made a bit of a mess of it, I must admit. Big Gordon and I tried to do the toy dogs. And I had learned my bit, he had learned his bit, but we'd never tried to rehearse it. And we stood up and tried to do it at the golf club, and it didn't work too well, let's say. It didn't work too well. But I've since done it a few times with Rob Walker, you know. And we're getting better at it, let's say.
Really good.
We're getting better at it.
The
But
Portland is a great burn supper. So it's a great atmosphere in that hall, and everybody in it's really want you to do well. So it's a joy, a burn supper to go. And who you were talking about some of your speakers there? Was the Enoch Curry you saw there?
Enoch was the first. He was the second. He was the second one that was on. Enoch was the second, and I can remember coming in and speaking to him, and I've never seen anybody as nervous in the whole of my life. I was just chatting to him before it, and I thought I was nervous, but Enoch was absolutely. He was shaking like a leaf, and see when he got up to speak about Burns, he was absolutely. He was amazing. I mean, I couldn't say anything else other than not a word, not a note. You know, he didn't have anything written down. It just come off the cuff, and he was very, very successful. But I think he was the second one we had, and we moved on for there. You know. So,
He's a great speaker. To watch him was just an absolute joy.
oh,
as you said.
Yeah, he was good, and as I say, we've had a number of good speakers, and they get the best of order. The boys give them the best of order, you know. But back to myself, I went because of the Portland connections. Eventually, I was asked to do a burn supper at Troon Juniors. Would I do some recitations? So Ian O'Connor asked me. He run the Troon Juniors, and I went. I said I would do it. So as you know, I was really quite nervous going along. And the first guy that walks through the door, never had seen him before, was Jimmy Law. So Jimmy Law was on there, and so Jimmy did his turn with his bag of tricks. Out came his case. The place was in an uproar, you know, and that turned out quite a nice, quite an enjoyable night, because I did Tam O'Shanter, and the boys received it quite well, and I quite enjoyed doing it. And I think that was 2011, you know, and I've done various ones since then, you know. So quite late in coming into Burns, really, you know, but thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed it, and the people that I've met, you know, through going to the Burns Club, through, well, a lot of it through, I must say, got to give Ian Farrell his credit, because I got introduced to Hugh, and then Hugh was on to other things, and then I ended up going to New Cumnock, made very, very welcome down there. Did the debate down there with it was Jane Brown. When we did the debate, there was 2 years come down, and that was a great day for us, doing it at New Cumnock for their annual debate in November, you know. So
Do you remember, did you win the debate?
No, it was a draw.
I mean, don't get many of them.
It was a draw. I don't know if it was a fix or no. I'm not saying anything. But
I don't think anybody's ever won a debate against a woman, you see. That's how I was asking.
Let's say we didn't get the last word. We didn't get the last word. But it was an experience. It was an experience to cherish, let's say. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, and you know, then well, you were there when we started up doing the bachelors club stuff.
Yeah.
That was something else because I think it might have been. I'm not sure who it was. They said, will you recite something in the bachelors club? And that was at the very beginning. And I went along, and it actually was hair standing at the back of my neck to be standing in the bachelors club where Burns had stood and recite. And I did to a moose. Yeah, we've done one or two things in it since then, but that night was just something I'll never forget. You know,
I remember that first night, and you were very nervous that night. It must have been the atmosphere, but you did a great job. And I mean, after that, it was easy for you.
Well, it's never easy, but never easy. But
it's easy for me to say that when I'm sitting watching.
It's getting more enjoyable. The last couple of years, I've been doing some stuff with Rob Walker, who was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I've teamed up doing Hornbook and the Twa Dogs. So in the Geopods, you know, and Geocast, Rob's done half it and I've done the other half, you know.
Yeah.
So,
you're making your name now as a reader about Burns suppers now, Roger. Tell me, what is your favourite Burns poem?
My favourite Burns poem, I probably would say, because I wanted to learn it, and once you started to get into the story of it, I mean, I'd heard it would be probably Tam O'Shanter, you know, because of the story. And before I started doing any Burns suppers outside, I did it in the house. I just did it in front of we always had a Burns supper every year for the family. And encourage them all to do something, you know, let it be Burns or whatever have you, you know. And one of one's done the Mortal Memory, one's done the Address to the Haggis, and reciting poems. But they keep asking me every year to do Tam O'Shanter, you know. And as I say, they're now 21 and 22 years of age, you know, some of them. But they're going right down to the Waynes. They loved it. So I would have to say probably Tam O'Shanter. But
and see, a bit later, if we persuaded you, would you do a wee excerpt?
A Tam O'Shanter?
Aye.
Probably. Aye.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that. Give you time to think about it.
Aye. It's what bit you start at, you know. When I started, I could write through the whole lot of it, you know. But I was quite fortunate, because on my travels when I was, you know, self-employed, I'd be jumping in the car and going to see a customer or going to visit a job. I got a couple of CDs, and I would put the CDs in the car, and I would just be driving and listen to it, you know, and I would just repeat it, and I would just say it along with them, and that's basically how I got to learn it. But once you start to know a bit more about it, you can interpret the story differently, you know, and that's where I think it's different learning it sort of just, well, I'd say parrot fashion, for learning it and reading it and then understanding it, you know. And I find that quite a number of Burns stuff like that. You read it over and you think, like the Address to the Toothache, you don't realise how deep that can get, you know, or To a Mouse or To a Loose. Once you start to read these, I find them quite fascinating, and what it's about. It's a lot deeper, and that's just the way I take it on it. And I'll take something, I'll learn it, and then I'll do another one. I started off doing the Death and Dying Wishes of Poor Mealy, because I heard somebody doing that down at Newcumber, and the guy was brilliant, you know. I said, I'll the kids would love that, you know, but I've only got so far through it.
What about your Burns Club in Donald, where you're a past president?
Mhm.
It's a great Burns Club. Have you get any memories that you would like to tell us about being president, that,
Um,
or in the run up to being president even?
well, what they do at Dundonald is, and I don't know if it's the same with other Burns clubs, is but they get you on to the committee, and once you're on the committee, it's almost like that's you. They're tracking you to get you on. So you then do a year or so in the committee, a couple of years, then you're on as vice president, and then on as president. You had to organise, organising the speakers, getting to meet all the speakers that were coming, and when I did do president, I think I was starting to get a bit more comfortable with doing recitations. So I did Tam O'Shanter at our own club, and that went. I enjoyed doing that, because I had one of those things. Well, I wanted to try it and do it there, so I did it at our own Burn Supper, and then we've got various nights, and I've done various things now. There's a few younger guys coming through, I'm glad to say, at Dundonald, that I think will pick up, do some recitations and getting right into the burns,
Have you got any Burn suppers that you've been at that really sticks in your head as just been an extra special Burn supper? Or?
There's been a couple. There was one when they did that it stuck out to me. It was the Caledonian paper did one in the Brigadoon, and they did the Jolly Beggars. They did the whole of the Jolly Beggars, and that really was outstanding. And I think Jane Brown did she did the Gina Armour that night, So, and I had my sister and a couple of friends along to it, and it was absolutely outstanding. That's one, just the venue where it was, but to hear to hear it, the Jolly Beggars, and then followed by the other stuff that come on, it really was really quite good. But I don't think I've been to many bad ones. There was one thing that sticks out, and I was, when you were going through some of this, I went to one of my early Burn suppers, with my mates, and we went up to Toon Home, and the piper never turned up. So I said, what will we do? Nobody to pipe in the haggis. This guy came out playing the trumpet and brought the haggis in with a trumpet, and he played it, and it turned out, other than not having somebody to pipe in the haggis, everything else went super. That sticks out in my mind. Toon Home Bowling Club, what was doing in my memory for that really sticks out. Just how people improvise, like whistling it in or something, but no, that's.
Getting back to Dundonald, did Dundonald do other events other than the supper?
They always do a St Andrews night. Yeah,
right.
They do a St Andrews night, and one of and they always do a senior citizens Burn supper, and that's just for the senior citizens in the village, and that's mainly mainly the guys for the Burns Club. They'll do the mortal memory, they'll do the toast to the lassies, and they'll do the recitations. So I've done that a few times for the senior citizens. But the St Andrews night, it's almost like a mini Burn supper, It's more a Scottish theme,
Yeah.
St Andrews nights are I've done. And then they get heavily involved. The Burns Club gets heavily involved with the Highland Games.
All right, aye.
The Highland Games are the one.
I noticed you'd Samantha there to be the announcer at the Highland Games this year.
Yeah, that's right. For this year, I missed this year. I've done the announcing at the Highland Games, but I don't know. I haven't had any feedback. I haven't even asked anybody, but I can imagine what she's been like. You know, I think she.
I've seen the pictures. I think she did a great job.
She's.
I'm sure she would.
And lately, as I say, I don't mean to be hogging the limelight or anything like that. I joined the bowling club in 2017, so I've started a Burns supper in there. You know,
good for you.
So I've done a couple of performances, but you were Willie, you yourself, you mentioned Douglas Ronnie O'Byrne, so he was supposed to be on the Burns supper to do. I can't remember. It was Willie Gibson that had organised Ronnie to come to it, but with COVID, he didn't manage it. But
that's a shame.
I think he's coming. Is he, Willie? Did you say he was looking to come this year?
Aye, he's definitely going to come this year, and
is he?
He'll give you a turn when he's there.
Right. Well, that's good. And
then Donald Burns Club as well. I don't think we can mention it either without mentioning Wally Stewart, that was there while you were president.
Wally was, the year I joined, Wally Stewart was the president, and he couldn't, a nicer guy you couldn't get. You couldn't get a nicer guy than Wally.
No.
And on the early days of the Portland Burns supper, I just used to say to him, Wally, will you come and you do the singing at the Portland? And he was there until he couldn't do it any longer. And he was absolutely, I mean, he was brilliant. I mean, you couldn't praise the guy enough for, and he was always, anytime you asked him to do it, no problem, he'd be there, and he would just make the night, you know. Willie.
He's a great entertainer.
He's a great talent. So he was a fantastic talent.
Sadly missed.
Absolutely. You mentioned that you were a volunteer. Was you a volunteer in at the cottage or in at the museum?
I started off when I went down. I get a wee bit tutoring or monitoring by Alison Wilson. So I started off doing the cottage, and then we got involved with doing some of the school stuff midweek. So the schools would be coming in, and they were doing. So I started going down and started the cottage. Then I started doing. On a Tuesday, we did the ink making. So we did a demonstration on how the ink was making and how Burns would have made ink, mainly for the school kids and that coming in. And then slowly progressed to doing the museum. And at the finish up, before COVID, I was doing both, you know. I was doing 2-3 weekends a month down there. 2-hour sessions, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, the amount of people that you meet, and if somebody said something, I would actually recite some poems. I've actually been down at the bridge, and I did a bit of Tam O'Shanter for an American couple, you know, and they were over the moon. And then kids coming in saying, "Oh, we've got a poetry competition," and you're going through like a tour mouse for the kids, you know. It really was, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed the people that you met. I would have said, if I'm being honest, I didn't like the great big parties. I would like it when there was maybe half a dozen people. I didn't, I was a wee bit, I wasn't that comfortable with maybe if you had a bus load coming in, and sometimes there was a bus load. But the guys that could handle that, hats off to him. Hugh Farrell, he's a master down there as far as taking busloads and people round about there.
Very good. Get back to the ink making, just for our audience. Can you tell them a wee bit about ink making?
Yeah, well, it was basically, it was made in the time of Burns, because ink would have been too expensive for Burns to buy, and they made it quite simply by they used vinegar. They used vinegar, rusty nails, and what we called oak apples. So you would get those. You maybe seen them in the oak tree. It's not the acorns. It's the oak apple. It's just like a small ball, and you'll see them in the oak tree. And if you pick them off, you'll see that there's a tiny hole in the oak apple, and that's actually a wasp. That's actually it's actually hatched from the oak apple, and it's the wasps have gone, but the tanning is there. So they use the tanning. So you crush the oak apples, you put any bits of old iron, nails, old rusty nails. I've actually made the stuff from, I would sit the rusty nails out for 2 or 3 days, whatever have you, and take the rusty water off it. You would take the vinegar, the oak apples, you'd crush them up, and you could heat them. You could add a wee bit of carbon to blacken it down. So we used candle wax. We used candles to go into the back of a spoon, and you took off the soot,
Right.
and that was very, very fine. Or you could crush charcoal, but we would scrape the soot off the back of the spoon, mix it all in, and then strain it. And then we used actually quills. I bought some goose quills, and I sharpened them into the pen, that the Burns would use. And we used to just put paper down and let the kids draw it. I was there one day when this chap came in, and he said, "Oh, I'm quite interested." It wasn't a school kid, and he sat down with a piece of paper, and he just drew the cottage with this ink, and it was amazingly drawn. He was an art student for Glasgow College of Art, and he left it with us, and I passed it on to the museum, But this guy just sat there with ink and made this sketch of Burns Cottage, So it was passed back on to them. But you get
amazing.
You get all sorts of things when you're down. You get the kids writing their names and doing various things, But I enjoyed it.
Absolutely brilliant. When you
The
started,
children must have been quite entertaining at the cottage, were they no?
Yeah, yeah. You really got you got the kids, various ones. You get ones that are quite shy. You've got others that were very, very outgoing. You get some that were quite demanding, but generally speaking, you gave them a sheet of paper, gave them a pen, and some of them would actually write a wee poem or write a line or copy a bit of poem. What we would have, we had a copy of Auld Lang Syne to let them see the type of handwriting that Burns would do. So they would actually try and copy that, Then they would write their own names, or they would write their sister's name or something like that. But the kids were, they were funny. You get a good laugh for them,
When I was away, and I was the shy one.
Well, I definitely was the shy one. But we're getting there, But as I say,
bring back Jim Thompson. He doesn't tell lies.
So you're saying now, Roger, that you're doing poems along with Rob Walker. So how's that going?
It's going very well. It's going well. We're doing this year. We're doing Horn Book. We did Toy Dogs last year, so we can alternate them about. But we've got a couple of suppers booked quite early in the year. You know, Dundonald Bowling Club and Troon Bowling Club. There's another couple as well that we're going to. So Rab will do one. We'll do one together, and then I'll do a recitation. So, and he's now, instead of Gordon gave up doing the recitations, which is a pity because Gordon's really good. Gordon's given it up. So now we're resident at the Portland. Is Rob Walker, you know. Well, he doesn't know it yet, but he'll know it now.
Very good.
He'll know it now. I don't know how our time's getting us, you know.
We're doing not bad. We've got about 10 minutes left, and
as long
apart
as
from getting you to do a wee bit of Tam O'Shanter, which I think we'll leave to the end, I was interested in your comment about where the family name and whether there was any connections to the famous David Livingstone.
Yeah, well, we did do it. Before I go into that, just when you said family names there, and I do Tam O'Shanter, my wife's mother's name was Graham, you know.
Right.
And they did the family history,
Uh-huh.
and it goes right back to Douglas Graham for Shanter Farm.
Oh wow!
Yes.
And they were from Dunwellington, but Jim, our uncle Jim, I know Jim. He played a lot in the Dunwellington band, but he did the research into the whole of the family history, and he's taken it right back, and he's got it. He's actually got it authenticated. So he goes right back to the Douglas Graham for Shanter Farm. So I always say that about my wife. She's related to the Tam O'Shanter, you know, to Douglas Graham, who Tam O'Shanter was based on, you know. But on our own family tree onto the Livingstones, yeah, obviously we always get it. David Livingstone, I presume, you know, we're always getting that. But once we did start to go back through, my father goes back to the brother of David Livingstone.
Right.
So it's no actual David Livingstone. It's his brother, and that's the side of the family that comes down. So.
Still a real connection there, though.
Yeah, but because all my father's family was from Blantyre. They were from down, and my father's mother and father were both actually deaf and dumb. You know, they were deaf and dumb.
Oh wow!
So I at a very early age, I had all the sign language. You know, we stayed with when my mother and father get married and I was born. We stayed with my grandparents. And they were deaf and dumb, so the only way I had of communicating was with the sign language, you know. But I've lost that now. I did have that skill then, but you know, the family connection does go back to the brother. Yeah.
Very good.
But,
and is the spelling the same?
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly.
Very very often with family names, sometimes the spelling gets changed on the way down, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. The maid in the background, she's heard it about the family tree. She says, I've got the family tree. So she's confirming just what I've said, as she does quite often, you know.
Very good, very good. Well, as I say, we've probably got about 5 or 10 minutes left. So if you've got an inkling to give us a bit of Tam O'Shanter before we finish, that would be absolutely brilliant.
Tam O'Shanter, are you wanting the Twa Dogs, or are you wanting you do the half a? I was just thinking half a the hornbook, a bit of hornbook if you want to go.
Whatever you would like to do.
Probably Tam O'Shanter's been heard probably that many times. I don't know. Well, I'll see. I'll do a bit of hornbook
Okay. Yeah, in your own time.
Right. Some books were lies from end to end, and some great lies were never penned. Even ministers, they have been kenned in holy rapture, a rousing wid at times to bend, and nailed it with scripture. But this that I am going to tell, which lately on a night befell, is just as true as the deals in hell of Dublin City, that ere nearer comes himself, it's a muckle pity. The clacking yowl had made me canty. I wasna fou, I just had plenty. I stackered wells, but yet took tent, I to free the ditches, and hillocks, stains, and bushes kent I, with ghasts and witches. The rising moon began to glower, the distant Kilnock hills out our. To count her horns with all my power, I set myself. But whether she had 3 or 4, I couldn't tell. I was come run about the hill and toddling down in Wally's mill, setting my staff with all my skill to keep me sicker. Though leewards whilst, against my will, I took a picker. Aye, there was something does forgether that put me in an eerie swither. And off a scythe out our ye shoulder, clear dangling hang, a 3-tailed leister on the other, lay large and lang. Its stature seemed lang Scots elves twa, the queerest shape that e'er I saw. For faint a whim it had of all, and in its shanks they were as thin and sharp and small as cheeks of branks. Good e'en, quo I, friend, have you been mowing when other folk were busy sowing? Seemed to make a kind of stand, but nothing spak. At length says I, friend, where are you going? Will you go back? It spat recht how. And then it goes on to Death speaking. My name is Death, but being aflied. Quo I, good faith, you're maybe come to stop my breath, but tent me, Billy, I read ye weel, tak care of skaith. See, there's a gully. And it's Death that takes over. Do you want me to carry on? I can carry on if you want.
Yes, please.
Good man, quo he, put up your whittle. I'm no designed to try its myth. If I did, I would be kittled to be mislaid. I wouldn't mind it. No, that spittle out our na beer. Well, well, says I, a bargain be it. Come, gi's your hand, and say we're great. Well, these are shanks, we'll tak a sate. Come, gi's your news. This whiles you win money a gate, at money a house. Aye, aye, quo he, and shook his head. It's been a long, long time indeed since I began to nick the thread and choke the breath. Out mun do something for their breed, and say man death. 6,000 years on their hand fled, since I was to the butching bread, and many a scheme and veins been laid to start for score me. Till yin Hornbook took up the clacking. You ken Jock Hornbook of the clacking. Dale Mackie's kingswood and a splacking. His grin so weel acquaint with bucking and other chaps. The wains hold out their fingers laughing and pout my hips. See, here's a scythe, and there's a dart, and they have pierced many a gallant heart. But Dr. Hornbook with his art and cursed skill has made them baith nae worth a fart. Damn here, kill. 'Twas yestereen, nae further gain, when I threw a noble throw at yen, with less I'm sure of 100 slain. But Dale McCare, it just played dirl on the bane and did nae mere. Hornbook was by with ready art and had so fortified the part that when I look at my dart, it was sae blunt. Faint here would have pierced the heart of a kill runt. Well, I drew my scythe with sicker fury, and near hand cowp it with my hurry, yet the bold apothecary withstood the shock. I might as well have tried a quarry of hard twin rock. Even them that canna get against it, although their face he ne'er had kenned it, just shite in a kale blade and send it, and since he smelts, baith their disease and what will mend it, at yince he tells. I don't know how your time's going, but as I say,
That was brilliant. Thank you very
I'll
much.
stop it there. But as I say, I was doing bits. I was doing the 2 bits there, as you'll
Aye.
know. But
How do you divide it up between you and Rob? Who does what?
well, it's when you go through the poem, you've got the bits for death, and you've got the bits for who he meets. You know, he's just meeting the guy coming back for the pub. So death is telling him about Hornbook. You know, and it's good if you get a good wee introduction to Hornbook and telling them what the story's about, especially at one suppers if people don't know the story. But that's another one that's every bit as, once you get deeper into it, all the places that are mentioned were all originally there. You know, that's what astounds me. You know, on Tam O'Shanter, the full tale, every place that's mentioned actually exists, you know. And Hornbook's much the same. You know, the person he's talking about and whatever have you, know. But
so do you just toss a coin to decide who plays which part?
Mainly Rob does death because he's got a black cloak. He's got the hood. I don't have one, you know. His wouldn't fit me, but he's a wee bit taller as well.
Very good.
And I could say he's a wee bit uglier, but I'll not say that.
He needs the black cloak. Is that what you're saying?
Well, he's got a scythe. I don't have, you know. I've never seen. He's got all the props. When he does it, he's quite fearsome. He's frightening, you know, to see him. Anyway,
you look forward to seeing the pair of you one day. It sounds tremendous.
Yeah.
So that's a great note for us to finish on, and it just leaves me to say thank you very much to to Willie first of all for stepping in at the last minute and helping us out, and to you, Roger, for telling us about your life with Robert Burns. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Douglas. Thanks, Willie. We'll see you.
You're welcome.